Because Alan Moore doesn't like anything that they do. V for Vendetta, he didn't like Watchmen. It's just, he's a perfectionist. So he's going to hate Killing Joke. But Killing Joke is embedded in a larger story that I can tell you involves Batgirl and Batman.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 32 of the Pseudo Nerd Podcast for August 12th, 2016. I am your podcast host, Josh Kiser, and I'm going to say my name today. And joining me in Gotham City today is Mr. Josh, I wish I was Batman Haddix.
How you doing, everybody?
And Kyle, I wish I was Oswald Cobblepot Hoagland.
Not true. And I also feel very, very proud that I called you out and you did not believe me that you didn't say your name last week.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. I really thought I did, and I went back and listened to it. And even when I listened to it, I thought I said it until you called me out, and then I had to rewind and listen again. I'm like, nope, definitely did not say my name. It really did sound like
when we published this, it just got cut off.
Yeah, but no, I just literally did not say my name for whatever reason.
Kiser, I'm thinking maybe you did say it, but Hoagie said you didn't. No.
I don't even want to hear that from you. Don't even want to hear that from you.
When he tweaked it, dude, he went back in and cut it out so that he'd be right.
God forbid that I do my damnedest to make sure that this podcast doesn't sound like hot garbage when it comes out. Make sure all the audio and the levels are good. But no, I'm not cutting out. Not cutting out anything unless it's like that awkward 45-second damn silence we'd had 2 weeks ago.
I mean, sometimes silence sells podcasts. If people are going to listen to us, they're not going to listen to us talk. They'd rather listen to us say nothing at all.
That's true. They're on the edge of their seat waiting for the next witty thing that we're going to say.
And we're going to say a lot of witty things today because today. We're going to review The Killing Joke, a recent release from DC based on the graphic novel. And we'll review all that today. But in the meantime, how are you guys doing today?
I'm good. I'm finally home, so I'm back on my normal, I guess, setup for the podcast.
You're
I'm
not
actually
laying in a bed of doilies with your microphone stuck in your chest?
No. Instead, I'm leaning into. I'm back up in the 80, 90 degree whatever office with a fan I can't turn on so that you don't hear it in the background. Just wiping the old sweat off the forehead, but at least it'll sound better.
Meanwhile, I'm recording off of a laptop in a America Inn in the middle of South Dakota. So. Apologies already for that.
That's like one step above a motel with the T light missing.
So a moel?
Like a little moel. There was no joke behind that. I just randomly picked a letter to be out.
Yeah.
I could see your jokes are already killing it today, Hoagland.
Oh God,
dude, that was a good. God, you gotta segue when you do that, Kiser. You got.
Well, I was going to, but I had to let it sink in for a minute.
Okay.
As we are going to talk about The Killing Joke today. And before we get into the movie itself, as we kind of review it, obviously spoilers galore for those of you that are interested in it and have not seen it yet. We're going to spoil it, but if you've read the graphic novel. Most of what we're going to say is going to already be based off of that, with the exception of the first half hour, which will be a discussion we're going to get into here shortly. So that's your spoiler warning. Before we do get into it, though, I'd just like to take a couple minutes for each of us to kind of say a brief what we thought about the movie, not into details if you liked it, didn't, and sort of where your bias lies. And Haddix, being the resident DC and more importantly, the resident Batman fan, why don't you give us your quick feelings as well as where you kind of lie with your bias?
Well, I guess to make it brief, I'm not a huge fan of the actual novel, the graphic novel. I always thought it was, okay. Somehow it's gained huge notoriety and it's like one of the best graphic novels. As far as the movie goes, I think I like it a little less, and we can get into those reasons later.
You like it less than the graphic novel, you're saying?
Yeah, and I mean, it is basically the graphic novel, and I think why I like it less is because of the things that they added, which again, what we can get into later. So I like it slightly less than I like the graphic novel, and the graphic novel itself wasn't one of my favorites. Not that I think it's bad, it just isn't one of my favorites.
That surprises me a little bit. I didn't know that. But we can talk about that as we go on to it. Hoagland, how about yourself?
As the resident DC ignoramus, which I don't really know too much about.
You can just be the
topic.
Resident ignoramus. It doesn't have to be specifically to DC.
This is I'll give you that. I try as much as I can to pretend that I know anything. Now I will say this: I did read the novel. I have read the novel before, and I without going too far into the actual. The actual topics. I know we're just kind of talking about our feelings of the movie. I was okay with the movie. I think it's good if you didn't see or didn't read the graphic novel, and maybe didn't have a lot of background other than knowing that okay, that's the Joker, that's the Batman. Like you know that stuff. So I understand why they started the way they did. And we'll talk about that later. So for that, I was okay with it. But really, the story itself is I don't know. To me, I don't know. I'm kind of with Haddix. I wasn't like crazy cultish impressed with the story of the graphic novel. So making an animated adaptation, is at the very least is just going to be just as good, if not probably just a little bit less. Especially with the things that they added. So I guess I don't understand the reverence of why people love it so much. Other than obviously it's about the Joker, and the Joker's always been kind of like a mysterious character as far as his origin is.
So I'll briefly say I think the reason there's so much love for the Killing Joke graphic novel is because it does so well with the Batman Joker being the, kind of two sides of the same coin sort of thing. And it was always about the relationship with Joker and Batman and how they are sort of the yin to the yang of each other. And that said, I feel like the movie loses that a little bit. And with the addition of the extra 20 or 30 minutes that we'll talk about here shortly, I think that makes me like it less to the point where you said, Haddix, of the novel itself. As far as my background, I read the novel years ago, and then when I watched the movie, I went back and reread the novel afterwards to just kind of see how close it was to it. Again, I can understand why you think it's not the greatest thing in the world. You don't understand the hype behind it. I think part of that is because maybe nowadays we expect so much more than maybe when the graphic novel came out. It was a lot better in comparison to other things that had been done during that period of time.
Oh yeah, I mean it came out in 1988, which and again spoilers I guess going into this, but with some of the graphic things that happened in the graphic novel, it probably was very edgy for the time. So. That is true. Yeah,
it definitely was kind of pushed the limits for the time period, especially for comic books, which until probably late 90s into the 2000s, you saw a lot of that corny, like, Truth, Justice, the American Way sort of Superman thing, where this really pushed the limits to a much darker connotation, darker story that, maybe people weren't used to at the time for comics.
Yeah.
So that's probably where a lot of it's probably half of it is nostalgia for what people wanted. So as we kind of get into it, let's talk about what we did like about the film, because it wasn't. I personally didn't love it, but there's definitely things I enjoyed about it. And I think we can all agree that one of the biggest hypes coming into this was Mark Hamill reprising his role as Joker and Kevin Conroy going to be Batman. So the voice acting is, from the animated series, those are the voices to me. When you say Batman, you say Joker, those are the voices I always think about. And to know they were coming back for this was pretty exciting, and I don't think they let us down. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that, but I thought both Hamill and Conroy did phenomenally in the positions that they were in.
Yeah, by far the best thing about the movie, I think, was and again, maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe someone who didn't grow up with them being the voice actors would be like, oh, whatever. But yeah, for me, by far the best thing about the movie adaptation.
Was Kevin Conroy also the voice of like the Arkham game series as well? Was that somebody else?
I am not sure if he was.
I think it's a different voice actor. And so for a lot of the newer guys or the newer people who are maybe not, I guess maybe have not seen so much of the animated series and are more accustomed to Batman now, especially
it was him.
Oh, it was him. I feel like he sounds sort of different in that one. Like, that was the first thing I kind of caught when, at the very beginning, and maybe, I don't know if it's just the quality of the studio he's in or whatever. I highly doubt that. I do agree, though, that, Mark Hamill's always been, to me, Joker. And,
yes.
Okay, well, I guess then what I was going to say is moot at this point, because it just, I am definitely much more used to Kevin Conroy's, Batman. I just, for some reason, recently I was, watching a couple like YouTube videos of, some of the Arkham games gameplay, just because, I was just in the mood. Now that we're doing this podcast, I was just kind of looking at some of the storylines of all it was like 4 games or whatever it is now. And I felt like the person who played Batman, it sounded different, but I guess I was wrong.
It's his Batman has always been good and enjoyable, which I thought he did fine in that one. But to me, it's Batman. It's hard to screw up the Batman voice as long as you don't. To me, Christian Bale exaggerated the Batman voice to a level where it was almost too over the top. And as long as you don't do that, his voice to me is not iconic, but the Joker's voice is iconic. And Mark Hamill is the epitome of that voice.
His laugh and everything is just perfect.
Yeah, Batman, you just have to be kind of brooding and sort of serious, but like a little deeper. And as long as you hit that without being too exaggerated, you're fine. But with the Joker,
it's almost like it's a lively voice, but it's barely above monotone. Like, you don't want to sound boring either, but, Batman's kind of a stoic character, so you're going to have kind of a stoic voice, but you don't want to have just like almost like a robotic monotone voice. So, but you, like I said, you want to kind of hit that equilibrium in between.
Yeah, and Kevin Conroy is probably most known, so his voice is just very, I don't know, it's just what you expect, I guess, out of it, because if you've watched anything Batman related, whether it be the video games or the animated series, that's sort of just the voice you go with. To me, the 90s Batmans with Clooney and Kilmer and Keaton, stuff like those Batman voices are whatever to me. Like, I've never thought of any of those Batmans being iconic, so, Conroy's voice is fine for me. But the Joker has so much more inflection, so much more variety. To your point, the laugh, and Hamill nails that, and it's done quite well. So, that to me lived up to the hype on that end. The voice acting, they weren't a disappointment whatsoever. As far as the animation goes, I've heard some critiques that the animation was in the previews before it came out. It looked like shit. When I went and actually watched it, I didn't think it was bad at all. I have heard that the movie was released, kind of a limited release in theaters. I heard on the big screen the animation looked like garbage when it was blown up like that. I guess it is what it is there. What did you guys think about the animation?
I think they might have tried to make it similar to the original art from the comic. I would have preferred them to do the story, which came out in 1988, in like a new style. You know what I mean? With new graphics. I think that would have been a lot cooler. Kind of put a twist on it instead of just making a movie version of a graphic novel. I didn't mind it, but at the same time, like the thing that annoyed me the most was Batman's ears. They were like kind of curved and like just looked weird. I don't know. That's your
critique, seriously? Like that's what you're going to throw at us?
That's an interesting. Yeah, man. That's what ruined the movie for this guy was Batman.
Well, I mean, it's just they've been so jacked up in different things, and I think it could have just looked so much better. I think if they tried to make the Joker look a little scarier, it could have added to some things.
I'll give you that. The Joker.
He looked more like a human being with makeup. Every time I've ever seen him in animated, anyways, he always just seemed like not even almost like a doll, like just a big pale doll that was just going around doing stuff. He actually looked more like an actual person. He's a person.
He's a person. Well, I think Joker's ears looked more real. That's probably why.
They did. Well, they did. Yeah. But here, to tie into the other thing we liked to get into here, I think it would have been awesome if they did the exact comic book story, which they basically did, starting at a certain point in the movie.
Yeah, for the most part, when it hit to the Killing Joke portion, we'll talk about the other part here shortly.
Yeah,
it was almost 100% true. There were some minor things, and we'll get into some of those because they're sort of the negative for me. But I agree. It felt like it was pretty much the Killing Joke once the Killing Joke started.
Yeah, and if they would have done that with modern animation, with like some of the animated movies that DC has done recently, just look awesome. And if they would have done that but kept the exact same story, I think they would have added a really cool twist to things. And I almost wish they would have done that just to see how it looked.
I guess my whole thing behind the animation is I just like the way it was because it just reminded me of the animated series. It reminds me of, I feel like it's the same animation as, the Justice League of America for the most part. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like someone was saying like it just looked archaic and like 90s-ish. I think it looked a little more polished than the animated series, but at the same time it's what was recognizable to me. I don't know. I think it actually looked fine. I didn't see it in the theaters. I just saw it. I just rented it on Amazon Prime, and it looked okay. I guess I just don't understand what people who are going to critique so much the actual animation part, because I feel like what is there that really somebody needs to complain about when it's fine? Like what are people expecting?
No, and I don't think Haddix is complaining, because Hoagie, I agree with you. To me, it felt like the 90s Batman animation. I was good with that. But I think Haddix wanted something, he was saying, like, if they took it to a different level, it would have been a neat, different thing to see.
Yeah.
Maybe if they took it to, instead of making it so realistic, if they made the Joker look more, to your point, doll-like or evil sort of looking, it could have, for a movie that was rated R, they could have made it look darker based on the animation alone.
Exactly. Yeah, make him look like a scarier Joker. I mean, I agree. I had no problem with the animation at all. I prefer a good story over good animation, but like I said, I just think it could have added to it a little bit more and made it a little bit more of a special release if it was slightly different than the comic. Looked different than the comic, I should say.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. Was there anything else that you guys did like about the movie? I know we haven't really named a whole lot. We we were okay with the animation. We loved the voice acting. stayed true to the Killing Joke, the part that was the Killing Joke, for the most part. Was there anything else outside of those topics or ideas that either of you really want to make a point that you enjoyed from this movie?
I'm going to be that guy that says I really didn't mind the prologue. For a person who may have no real recollection of what the Killing Joke is about, or just somebody who just stumbled upon watching it, I think if you just went straight into the Killing Joke story, I don't think it gives you enough time, especially if you're not that familiar with Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. I think it gives you, I guess, a reason to feel empathetic. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about it, but like I said, you're asking me what I did kind of like about it.
Oh, we're going to talk a lot more about it.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it, but I think we're going to talk more about it in a negative light. So I at least wanted to say I understand where they're going with it and what they were trying to do, and trying to give Batgirl some time to. I'm not saying they did a good job or it was a success, but I feel I do understand and appreciate that they were trying to, I guess, include her, especially because of how minor she really was in the true graphic novel.
So I'm just going to, for our audience, those who may or may not have watched it yet, the first 20, 25, 30 minutes, somewhere in that range, they do this whole, to your point, like a prologue of Batgirl, and they're trying, as you said, to make her an empathetic character. And really what happens is they ruin the Killing Joke in the process, in my opinion. And the reason for it is the Killing Joke is the story of Batman and Joker. If you go into watching this without knowing anything about the Killing Joke, you would think this is a movie about Batman and Batgirl, and by the way, Joker is the villain in this. And that, to me, takes away from the point of Alan Moore's story of Batman and Joker by adding in all this, trying to make her an empathetic character, when in the Killing Joke she was almost just a somebody to make the story progress. She was just sort of.
So then, what I would say then to counter that is, how long was the whole movie? About what, hour and a half, hour and 20?
70 minutes.
70 minutes, so an hour and 10. So if you were to just completely, let's just say, nix that prologue, which is roughly about 20, 25 minutes of the whole thing, are you telling me that it was worth the time to do a story, or they would have been, or at least they should have had the ability to stretch the actual Killing Joke to 70 minutes without it and make it like an actual feature-length movie?
No, I agree. It's going to be a shorter movie without that prologue. But to me, the prologue felt like when I started watching it, first of all, I started watching it, I'm like 10 or 15 minutes into it. I had no idea. I read nothing about this before going into it, other than I knew it was a rated R movie and that Hamill and Conroy were in it. That's all I knew going into this. I started watching it and I'm like, am I even watching the right movie right now? I thought I was watching a completely different animated series. It wasn't until like that whole thing ended and then I started saying, like, oh, this is the Killing Joke. So I was very confused by that. But it's not – I understand they wanted to add more for length and to make her more of an empathetic character. But I thought it was like the idea was there and then they just dropped the ball completely on it.
Now, do you think – now, the other thing I'll ask then is, do you think if they just removed – they kept the whole Batgirl prologue, but they kept it, but they removed the awkward romance part and still just had like that beginning – of, you know, that I guess that I forgot what the mob family is they're taking on at the beginning. It's not Falcone or anything like that, but
France something.
Well, I mean that's his villain name, but his last name's something else. If that stayed true and it was more about like she finally still kind of quits because she realizes that she was getting personal and that, you know, it was, you know, she wasn't up to the task of being Batgirl because of that, and just got rid of the whole sexual frustration part of it and the, you know, just that little nugget of it, would you have been less upset?
Less upset, yes, but I still thought it would have been stupid.
Here's my thing. I I see where both of you are coming from. They definitely needed to do something else because a 35-minute movie probably wouldn't have held up with people. They would have been like, wow, that was way too short. So I understand that side of it, and I understand them trying to make you feel bad for Batgirl when she gets shot. So I get what they were trying to do. My thing is, why not make the beginning 20, 25 minutes, Batman training Batgirl, and while he's training her, the Joker's doing all this crazy shit. You show Batman putting Joker into Arkham, and then, maybe we flash forward 3 years or whatever the hell it was, that he was supposedly in there for. And that way you got that little background for Batgirl so that you
it's like
feel
a
sad when
background.
she gets shot. Yeah, background. So that you feel bad when she gets shot. Plus, you also have a little bit of, all right, Joker has been running around just, causing all kinds of mayhem for Batman. And so you get why there's that tension between them two as well.
I wonder if like a marketing person got in the way of that and said, like, what would give the most grab for Batgirl and Barbara Gordon and give you the most empathy? Well, then, yeah, have her be romantically involved with Batman so that when she gets hurt, it makes it for more compelling story because you think that, Batman's going to get pissed and all this other stuff. And that was what I got mad about, is that really, that didn't do that. Like, that's what I felt like. I understand what they were trying to do. They just didn't do a good job.
It took me out of the movie, to be honest.
Huh? It was so dumb.
So it took, I just said it took me out of the movie. But yes, it was, to me, it was everything, it went against everything Batman is.
Yes.
And Haddix, you can attest to this more because you've read a lot more and you're much the bigger Batman fan. But to me, that's not the Batman character. He is not going to fall victim to love, especially to Barbara Gordon. And now we'll just go right into that. They have sex. Bruce Wayne
on a
and
rooftop.
Barbara Gordon have sex on a rooftop. It's Batman and Batgirl, which, by the way, she takes her top off of her Batgirl suit like it's a fucking t-shirt. So first of all, bad job on her armor. So Bruce, you need to work on that unless that was your plan the whole time. And secondly,
I don't think she's wearing it anymore.
He trained her forever. Yeah. Him and Jim Gordon are like kind of buddies. They respect each other. They're this and that. Like, the last thing he's going to do is fuck her daughter, let alone the person he's been training. Like, it's like a sort of a college professor fucking a student sort of situation where it's not right. And for Batman especially, like, it made it seem like it was out of a bad porno where, yes, like, everybody's just sleeping with everybody kind of thing. And it just seemed like somebody was living out their nerdy comic book fantasy and wrote it into the story, and it got approved. And there were so many moments where, like, Barbara Gordon was like, it was like a close-up on her breast or her ass or this and that. Like, it was like, they made the movie rated R, and then the reasons it was rated R were not for reasons it should have been rated R. And it was like things like that to me, it just felt like it was like a horny teenager who was directing this movie and totally just it really kind of ruined. I mean, that moment was when the movie just took a big dump for me.
Yeah, not only does it go against Batman, I mean, so many times in comics, and even they delved into it in the cartoons a little bit, like, Batman has a relationship with Catwoman, and he denies himself pleasures all the time because he's got a job to do. He can't give into that kind of stuff. And they make this movie, and they literally just, right away, he just bangs Batgirl. Like, it doesn't make any sense. That, and it almost takes away from Barbara Gordon's character. Like, she wouldn't have done that.
Right.
Like,
they
she wouldn't have given into that.
This, like, little, like, naive, slutty girl.
Yeah, it's so...
And she got the old hump.
It was just so bad. It was so bad on all accounts that, like, they could have done. I 100% am okay with adding some type of intro onto the movie to make it longer. Oh, perfectly fine with that. I am 100% okay with them trying to make you feel, emotional towards Batgirl when she gets shot. Again, 100% okay with that. And there are so many ways that you could have done that would have been way better than the way they did.
Absolutely. I mean, it really just made me cringe. Like, how did this get approved? Of all the things that has happened, they let this go through.
And as much as Barbara Gordon probably knows,
like I said, to me, it made the movie Batman and Batgirl the Killing Joke instead of Batman and Joker the Killing Joke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I get that too. And I guess once again, I understand why they were trying to do this, what they were trying to accomplish. But I guess from the reality of it, if you're actually looking at it from the character standpoint, the last person that would probably sleep with Batman is anybody who's actually being associated with Batman, like Batgirl or Barbara Gordon, because her, better than anybody else, probably knows the abyss that Batman is really dealing with. Like, that is just a bad idea to try to sleep with, anyways.
It's a bad idea to do that, right?
It's a bad idea.
No, so I mean, to me, if I and let me get your guys' opinion on this, because we're kind of saying they wanted to make Barbara Gordon an empathetic character, and they needed this extra 20 or 30 minutes to the movie. I'm okay with that. I understand that, especially for what it was going to be. If they wanted to do just the Killing Joke itself and make it a 45-minute movie or something like that, it's almost like it has to be like a Netflix release or something like that. But it's not. It's coming out. It's being released in theaters. It's coming out on Blu-ray. It's coming out on digital, whatever. The way I think they should have done that, and it looked like they were trying to, and then just did a 90-degree, is they show this Paris, France, and how he's trying to be. He has a thing for Batgirl, and they're trying to say how disruptive that relationship can be. They could have almost wrote it a little bit better, and meanwhile showing flashbacks of Batman and Joker and how destructive Joker was to Batman and vice versa, and almost make it. They're trying to make it parallel, but they really lost it somewhere.
Yeah,
and almost have. There's a reason why Batman's hey, be careful, watch yourself, Barbara. Here's the thing. Instead, it came off of he. By the end of it, it was he wasn't telling her to watch herself because it's a destructive lifestyle and it's going to be her undoing. It was because he's a jealous guy who he actually wanted to sleep with her.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that would have been a perfect intro. Is take any sexual tension out at all, none, and then replace it with that. Replace it with flashbacks. Yeah, absolutely. If anything, they have more of a father-daughter relate. I mean, you don't want to say that because she actually has a good dad. She has a good relationship with her actual dad.
That's what it is he's a mentor, guardian thing. To me, Robin and her have had more sexual.
Oh god! Well, they get together. Yeah, they get together in the comics. So I mean, yeah, it's they again. I could pick probably 10 to 20 different intros to that movie that would have been way better. Fans would have been, if anything, at least okay with. Maybe not love, but okay with it, and it wouldn't have just shit all over the Batman character and the Batgirl character and the Joker character that have been building for decades. So so many things I could have done.
So I think the agreement then is because of the intro, it actually put a dent on the actual Killing Joke story because that was what was served to us before we even got into it.
Yes, yes, that's exactly how I feel. Is it took a great novel and actually that intro, which was supposed to sort of help while adding filler and backstory, it actually hurt it going into the Killing and Joke itself.
Yeah, I I wanted the movie to be an hour long or 70 minutes, which it was, but with that intro, I would have rather it been just panel for panel, the graphic novel, in an animated movie version.
And just see
than
if you
what
can
we
stretch
got.
it for 70?
No, I would have rather take 35
You'd rather
minutes.
take it, 45 minutes or something.
I think the movie needed to be 70, and they do an intro, and if they would have done it right, it would have been great. But I would rather take the 35 minutes frame for frame from the graphic novel than the 70 minutes of what they actually gave us. Because I agree. I think it did hurt the actual graphic. If you've never read the graphic novel and watched that, I think you're like Kiser said, you walk away from it thinking about Batman and Batgirl instead of Batman and Joker.
So going back to what I had said before, then you keep the intro, but completely remove any sort of Barbara Gordon Batgirl Batman sexual encounter. Would it have been significantly better of a prologue?
I wouldn't say significantly, but I would say it would be an improvement already.
Yes.
Well, I just feel like that's what we're kind of focusing a lot on is what we feel is inappropriate to an almost, I guess, a borderline sacrilegious.
But even if they
love interest,
let's say they didn't have sex but that like relationship thing was still in there, where like she kind of likes him, yada yada yada. Even if they left that in and got rid of the sex, I still wouldn't have liked it because none of that exists. Like,
right. So I mean,
there's no romance at all.
Get rid of that too. Get rid of the gay guy part.
By the time you do that, you're adding like 10 more minutes to the movie. So,
and that's why I thought they could have done what they were trying to do at the beginning and make it Barbara having a destructive relationship with this gangster, and flashbacks of the Joker and Batman realizing like it's a similar parallel there, and it could have tied everything together much better. Then instead it's like they had this idea and then it just got crapped on, and then they're like, well, what would happen if they just fucked instead? We're making this R-rated, like let's push the limits.
Yeah.
And they just went completely in the wrong direction and really turned off a lot of the diehards.
I would be very curious how the whole conversation came about, because if it's not rated R, I don't think they can put that sex scene in there. So I wonder if they pushed for the rated R so that they could put that in there, or once they kind of got the okay to make it rated R, they were like, well, hey, let's add some sex somewhere. You know what I mean?
It's not just that. It's what makes it rated R, though. I mean, the whole, dragging Jim Gordon around naked and chains, and him having to see pictures of his his daughter naked. I mean, we don't see anything in particular. There are guys getting their brains blown out left and right in the show. So the rated R still was, justified without needing that one scene where she just like takes off the top of her suit and shows her bra.
That's why I'm curious. Like, I'm curious if that scene, if they got rid of that scene, I'm curious if it drops down to PG-13 or not.
I don't think so. I still think there's enough violence and I guess questionable or sadistic, scenes, especially the whole, like I said, the whole Jim Gordon being captured part. That itself would have been enough. I don't think a half-second moment where she takes off the top of her suit and then it pans up to a gargoyle creepily staring down. I don't think that justifies the R. I'm sure it gave them the opportunity to do that while being rated R. I think the guys getting shot in the head and the fighting of the circus sideshow guys and getting stabbed in the back and then the whole, like I said, I think the Jim Gordon going to the fun house, I think that was more what was justified for the rated R.
It's interesting because it's debatable. I agree that if there was enough violence with the headshots, because it's animated, I guess I feel less inclined to think like, that it should be rated R for the headshots and this and that. But I will say when Gordon is being put through the funhouse and there's photos of Barbara shown up there where she's obviously also
there's the obvious assumption that Joker raped her. And so,
and that's where it is it's implied. It's the implication.
And I think the implication makes it R.
And that's fair. I'm not going to disagree with that. That to me, if they didn't show that scene where he's going through and saw naked pictures of Barbara, if this movie was like, hey, we can only make it PG-13, I bet you in those scenes, instead of there being photos of her nude, instead it's photos of her body lying there with like a pool of blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's just showing that he shot her.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'll give you that the rated R is justified, but I guess I expected more. I don't know if I expected more like curse words in it or something like that. I felt that there was something missing for the rated R hype that came with this movie as well.
Well, also I don't believe the graphic novel had curse words in it either, and that was still considered a pretty risque graphic novel. So, I mean, I think if someone said, hey, they're going to do a Killing Joke adaptation for, an animated adaptation, I think a lot of people are going to think, okay, well, that's kind of a dark story. And
it's a Dark Knight story.
Exactly. Good one.
I mean, here's the perfect example. There was a movie, an animated movie that came out that was the story of when the second Robin got killed by the Joker. And I mean, it literally shows the Joker beating the shit out of him in the beginning of a movie with a crowbar, and he kills him. And that movie was not rated R. So
I mean, to me that violence. Look, I've seen that one as well. He gets the shit kicked out of him with a crowbar, but it's not like there's brain matter. It's not like most of the shots he was getting hit with was usually in the back, a couple in the back of the head. There wasn't like he was in a pool of his own blood. He didn't die from those injuries. He died because Joker blew up the building, which, by the way, I find it very interesting that a whole building blows up, but yet Robin, stays intact. But that's another fucking discussion. I think the Killing Joke is more rated R than was Jason Todd dying.
Yeah, but I meant more in the sense of the graphic novel for the murder of Robin was very dark. And when they adapted that to the I guess animated screen or whatever the hell, there could have been those same concerns, but it wasn't rated R, and it still did a good job at portraying the whole thing. So I mean, I see what you're saying. It has a lot to do
with the content. I think violence doesn't get hit high enough for an R rating, but once you start involving domestic violence, rape, that kind of thing, like even just the implication is, especially in 2016, it's a tough thing to present to a ratings board and say, oh, do you think that this deserves an R rating? Everyone's so politically correct now that it's like, well, yeah, that's totally inappropriate. This is about, the Joker basically raped. In fact, there's even some implication that some were even saying during the graphic novel that Joker raped Gordon too. But I mean, I don't think they went that far with the animated adaptation. But once you involve, exploitation, sexual exploitation and rape on a paraplegic, that's when you start pushing the envelope more than I think, an actual hero getting attacked by a supervillain with a crowbar.
Understandable.
That's fair. I'll give you that. I'm kind of exasperated at the Barbara Gordon topic. So, what else did you guys not like about this movie? Was there anything else particular? I have something, but I'll let you guys speak first.
The only thing I had on my list, which is, it's on the rundown. I guess I just kind of laughed to myself about the necessity. Once again, it's the prologue, and we already, shit all over it. But what was up with the gay best friend character?
No, I think they're trying to be trendy.
And I'm okay with that, but it felt like
it was too stereotypical gay best friend things.
That's what it was. It was too stereotypical. If he was just gay, like fine, whatever. Like
he had a quip for everything. Like every single time that she would say something, he was like, sweetie, I know how that feels. Well, that's like a Friday night for me. Like, come on, man.
It was like they were. It felt like those those cringy jokes from like 10 years ago when, you know, like homosexuality in sitcoms and stuff was like just coming out.
Yeah.
And like they were forcing it in there to like, cause like, oh, let's make the guy gay and like, let's put in these jokes. And instead it like turned out to just, it was really like cringy. Like it made you like, come on now.
Well, at this point in life, it's 2016. I think for the most part, we've understand that gay people are real and not all of them act like that. So then when you create a stereotypical gay person, in an animation or in a movie or whatever the hell it may be, like it's almost like, hey, give him all these jokes so that everybody knows he's gay. But it's like, why do we even need to know he's gay? It's not necessary.
It almost comes off as offensive by the end of it, the way they portray him.
It is. It's just like like I think we sort of talked about. And I talked to my wife about it, about how there are a lot of people who take like offense to shows like The Big Bang Theory because they think it's making fun of, you know, antisocial, nerdy kind of guys because there's those jokes that every once in a while that come out that are just the way that they are normally is a joke. So once again, we have a stereotypical gay person who really isn't doing anything funny, but he's color, you know, he's still, you know, color commentary. He's still like, he's still a parody, which is like just from being naturally gay, which is going to rub people the wrong way.
What? Not to change the subject, but what did you guys think about the Christian Bale Batman shout out?
Christian Bale Batman shout out.
When he said, swear to me, when he yelled swear to me to that guy.
Oh, I didn't
that?
catch that one.
Only you would catch that. Only that's
he was like
I caught the Joker Easter eggs.
Yeah, with sitting on the bench and all that.
Yeah. When he was looking at the monitors of all the previous Jokers, and they had like Heath Ledger's Joker in there and stuff like that. I saw that one, but I didn't catch this.
Yeah, it was when he was tracking down the Joker, and like he's got that guy in the alley, and he goes, "I don't know where he is. I swear to God." He's like, "Swear to me." I got a good chuckle out of that.
Yeah, so
I know he said it. I just never really put two and two together that was actually like I guess something memorable that Christian Bale said.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that is a memorable quote from him. I'll give him that. And for me, the one other thing I'll say is that I didn't like about it is The Killing Joke is one of those movies that really or one of those novels and stuff that, you know, Joker's backstory is almost always kind of like an enigma, but not, you know, the Riddler enigma, but it's a mystery. And The Killing Joke gives him a backstory. He's a failed comedian. It looks like he's trying to support his wife and this and that. And in the novel, his wife is killed. Basically, she dies, but it's basically assumed that she's been killed. And in the movie, it's almost like just kind of glossed over. It's like, oh, by the way, your wife's dead. Like, well, you're still coming tonight. And it's like, there's no emotion. There's no. Yeah. You know.
He kind of was like, oh, my wife's dead.
Yeah, and in the novel, it's much more. It settles in on you. Like, wow, that's, you know, one of the heavy things. The Joker has a really rough night. Like, his wife dies. This robbery thing goes wrong. Batman knocks him into the, you know, chemicals and this and that. Like, it's a really bad day for the Joker. And in the movie, the wife dying seems like it's as nonchalant as anything.
Especially when they were breaking into it, and he was just kind of being melancholy. Like, he didn't seem like he was really sad. He was just kind of like, well, you know, today's a bad day. Like as if like he stubbed his toe type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like Droopy the dog. Like,
I have a question for you both, and I saw this on Reddit, and I don't know if I would have thought about it if I didn't read this. So I'm curious of what you guys thought. More so the graphic novel, and I don't know if you guys have read them recently. Oh, Kiser, you said you have. I don't know if you have, Hoagie, but
I've read it.
The ending there where the Joker tells him that joke,
I was
and then
hoping to
Batman
talk about
starts
this.
laughing, and then he like kind of grabs the Joker. There was a post on Reddit where somebody said that they're implying that Batman kills Joker right there.
In the graphic novel, that's the assumption, is Batman's killing Joker.
So do you guys think do you think that's what happens? Do you think he kills him?
I don't. When I looked at it, first of all, people were saying that, he choked him. Like, first of all, the hands are near the shoulders and the chest, like kind of like how it was in the adaptation. And I think he's just putting his hands on there because, first of all, in that moment, they were both just being basically normal guys, understanding that they're both psychos in their own way, and they just kind of had a moment together that I don't think either one of them would have attacked each other anyways. No, I did not think even the slightest, even in the graphic novel, that he tried to kill him. Plus, it just wouldn't make sense. What a terrible way for that particular graphic novel to end, especially with the fact that, one, Batman doesn't kill people, especially not the Joker. Like, the Joker is probably the one guy he relates to the most and would rather not kill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's always it's sort of kind of left ambiguous, I feel like, at the end of it, but there's a lot of there's a lot of people that believe, and the thought is left that Batman does kill him, and that's the reason why they call it the Killing Joke, is because Batman kills him at the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't look it up, but I wonder if the guy who wrote it ever came out and said anything, or maybe
I read
comes
up
out
on
and says he left it up.
He actually said something not too long ago in a panel where he's like, it's been a long, people have been asking me about what really happened, and I'm going to tell you now. And he basically kind of sets it up, and then the last thing he says is, the Joker told the joke about, in a sense, the joke is just kind of like the parallel of their relationship.
Of those two. Yeah, right.
And then he says, and then they share a laugh, and then Batman puts his hands on the Joker, and then he got up off the panel and walked away. And people just laughed because he just, once again, leaving it to everyone else's, their own interpretations. But once again, it's just, I feel like if you're going to kill the Joker, and like someone as iconic as him, like, you would do it. You would do it on one of the you would just do it on one of the panels. So if you're not, and especially where it just doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like he's choking him. It doesn't look like he's going to stab him. It doesn't look like he's doing anything really to him. Other than he does grab him a little aggressively at the end, I guess, in that version. But once again, like, Batman's a psycho, but I don't think he would have gotten all the way through to murdering him, because that's what would have been. And that's what Batman would have thought it would be like. He doesn't want to murder, especially the Joker.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, he probably left it open on purpose for people.
Yeah, I think it's definitely definitely there as like a leave it up to the reader sort of thing.
No, I'm glad that we kind of talked about it too, because I'll be honest, when I first read the novel and then also when I watched the movie, I did not understand the joke at the end. Like, I went back and listened to it. I didn't want to go on Reddit. I didn't want it to be explained to me. I wanted to get it. And then I finally did, and I thought, I was like, okay. I don't know why I missed, and after I now understand it, I'm kind of mad that I missed it twice. About just the whole idea that, somebody wants to help somebody, get to the other side, but the other person thinks that there's no way that they'd be able to do it, and the other person, the only thing that he thinks that he can think of doing to help isn't going to help in the end, which is basically what the joke is about. And for those who don't understand what the joke is, go watch Killing Joke, because we assume that people who are listening to this have probably watched it.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, there are jokes.
And they kill. Much like this podcast.
Oh, it kills.
Killing it.
Kills all the time. We'll have to make sure that Shannon watches Killing Joke, because she's going to listen to this and have no clue about what the hell we're talking about. Watch. How did you guys even watch it? Let me ask you that. Did you guys buy it, or did you guys...
I rented it on iTunes because I wanted to be able to... I was going to, like, bootleg it off the internet somewhere, but I wanted to be able to, like, pause and rewind certain parts of it. So I was like, you know what? I want to make sure this is legit. So I just rented it for the standard definition for $3.99 on iTunes.
I bootlegged it off the internet, so...
Yeah, I figured you did. I did bootleg the graphic novel, though. I downloaded it from somewhere and was able to
say it's on Imager if you wanted it.
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
I saw it just on the internet. There's somewhere that you can just look at it, panel for panel.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you either liked or did not like that we have not discussed with this movie?
No,
I mean, I do. I mean, I think it goes back to the beginning of what Haddix was saying, and I kind of agree with. I still don't really understand the, like, how people are just blowing the story. I think even Alan Moore would say that once again, I don't think he's happy with anything he ever does. But even he has gone out and criticized his own work about saying, like, I don't think it's as good as what, people are giving him credit for. And so I don't give the Killing Joke movie, or whatever you want to call this, like high praise, just because the story is fine. But I know it was something from 1988. Maybe I expect more with my stories now, which is whatever. But it was good. But if the story itself is meh, the adaptation's only going to be at the best meh, I guess is my whole point.
I think the story was better than you're giving it credit for. I think it does have something to do with what we expect now, almost 30 years later from when it was written. I do think that it could have been a lot better, and I think they dropped the ball on a lot of things. They kept some things true. Thank God that Mark Hamill was a voice actor for it. I think if they had somebody else, I would have absolutely hated it.
Definitely said. I will give them credit. Other than maybe two scenes, once the Killing Joke started, even the lines that they used were damn near exact same as the graphic novel. So you tip of the cap for that, because that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and they wrote that song where the Joker's kind of singing the song, and it fit well with it. So, I mean, there was a lot of the movie was not absolute trash.
No.
But for the hype behind it and what it could have been, I think it both did not live up to the hype and also could have been a lot better.
With the last like minute or two we have here, what was everyone's favorite part? I mean, like what's your favorite, whether it's the adaptation or the book itself? What's your favorite scene, or what's your favorite part of the novel? Like, if there's a particular scene, a particular moment, a particular line, anything like that.
For me, it's the part about Batman when he's going to the Joker, and the Joker's got that monologue where he's just discussing everything. That to me, and being able to hear Mark Hamill deliver that monologue.
The very end you're talking about?
Yeah, towards the end there. I think that is the best part of the graphic novel, and I think it was one of the bright spots in the movie adapting to it.
That was good. I also liked, I guess, the beginning of the novel, middle of the movie, where he's walking into the prison, and Batman's kind of saying that stuff about, where one of these days one of us is going to kill the other one. It kind of sets up their relationship. It's a volatile relationship, and eventually one of them is going to kill the other one.
I personally think this is one of the very few times where I think Jim Gordon is a fantastic character. The fact that, he fought through all that bad shit that happened to him, and all the torture he had to endure, and in the end he had that scene where he yells at Batman and says, take him down and do it by the book. Show him that our way works. I just felt like that was a very empowering moment for Gordon.
Agreed.
Well, and Batman even says that to the Joker. He said, "You didn't break him. He still told me to bring you in. You thought you were going to break him, and you didn't."
Yeah, so big ups to Commissioner Gordon, or I think he was commissioner during that time.
Yeah.
And I just want to add one more thing before we kind of end things up. Haddix, what you were saying, what was the point you were just making about Batman saying about, one of us is going to kill each other one day. That to me is how the movie should have started out, and instead it opens up with Barbara Gordon voiceover, and that is why it really it became Batman and Batgirl movie instead of a Batman Joker movie, and I think they open with the wrong monologue there.
Yep.
So that's pretty much our movie review in a nutshell. If you haven't seen it yet, go give it a watch. I wouldn't go recommend spending a lot of money on it. Maybe you bootleg it off the internet, but I'm not going to endorse that. Maybe go to Philly's Market and watch it there. But that said, next week we are going to do our SummerSlam preview as you know, another wrestling podcast, which I'm sure a lot of you out there looking forward to. I know we are here. So we're going to go ahead and preview the upcoming matches, kind of discuss the brand split as well. We haven't got a chance to do that, so probably do all that next week. From the home of the Rapid City Monuments. By the way, that's the football team that played the Gotham football team in Dark Knight Rises. To the home of Earth 2's Lois Lane. To the home of the Silver Age Comics Supergirl. I am Josh Kiser. He is Josh Haddix, and he's Kyle Hoagland. And we will see you guys next time.
Have a good Friday.
See ya.